Good afternoon. This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of the Future of Email Marketing. My guest today, coming from the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken, Ross Brouse, president of Continuous Networks. Hi, Ross.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Where am I speaking to you from?
Where are you speaking to me from, or where am I speaking from?
Yeah, where are you speaking from? Yeah,
I'm in northern Jersey, so
Northern
about
Jersey.
45 minutes outside of New York City.
Oh, okay. We
Yep.
had a guest on last week from Jersey as well. He made a distinction. I said New York. He said no, New Jersey.
Yes.
We're in Bellingham, Washington, north of Seattle. So it's one
Okay.
of those cross country conversations
You
here.
are like the complete opposite end.
It's okay. Hey, tell people a bit about your company if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So we are a technology support provider. We service New York, New Jersey primarily,
Hmm.
but we do have customers all over the U.S.
Yeah.
People have offices in different places, and so with the way things work today, it really can work wherever you are.
Yeah.
But we actually started as a web hosting company many years ago. So before they called it the cloud, they called it web hosting.
Right. Right.
And that was us. That's what we did. You put servers online and people bought them from you, and they hosted their websites and they set up their own email accounts.
Right.
And it was great. And you pretty much just had to have enough money to put a server online and you could make money.
Colo, the days of colo.
Yeah,
Right?
colo. Well, and it's funny because that term, we still use that term. We actually still have a lot of co-location customers, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was, back in the day, it was absolutely fantastic. And you didn't have to have a degree, and you didn't have to know sales, and you didn't have to know marketing, and you could just make a lot of money.
Well,
Uh,
you like me are a refugee from other fields. Like your background originally was film and television, correct?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. I went to NYU Film and TV. So
great
everyone
school.
always asks me that. How come you're not making movies today? I'm like, well, I am. They're just on LinkedIn.
That's right. You got a lot of content up there. I always tell people, arts background is great for the world of tech because increasingly it's about clarity, explanation, connection, relationships, and yes, you have to learn the technical bits. But it was all invented last week, so
Yeah.
even a guy with a comp sci degree from 10 years ago has got to play keep up and learn like the rest
Yep.
of us, right?
Yep, exactly. I,
Yeah.
I think if you know how to tell a story, it's what really matters. Do you know how
Yeah.
to tell a story? Do you have a story to tell? We all do.
Yeah, for sure.
But and make it relatable to people, and
Yeah.
that's what people want.
Yeah. Certainly how they connect and how they learn. Was the pandemic business boost for continuous networks?
It was a huge business boost for us. Funny story. We had an office that we were spending a ton of money on, and the lease was ending, and so
Mhm.
we were moving into a new office and built this brand new beautiful space. And they were having a lot of trouble getting permits through and getting it all done. And then all of a sudden, so we were all working remotely, I don't know, 5 months before the pandemic happened. So we
Right.
had prepared to do that for, I don't know, 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
They came back to us and they said, we don't know when we're going to facilitate on this space. So we said, well, you know what? We don't need it. We don't need it. And so we just agreed to stay completely virtual. We've
Yeah.
been virtual for going on 2 years now.
Yeah.
We've got a team of 26. We've expanded from the last 2 years. We've expanded from 14 to 26,
Wow.
and it's been working really well.
Good on you. And
Yeah.
and probably a lot of your customers had to make the same kind of shift, maybe without less that lead time.
Well, it was nice for us because while they made that shift, we were ready to do it. We had
Yeah.
already done it ourselves.
Yeah.
We didn't have to make a big transitional change the way so many other companies did because we were already there. So yeah, we leverage that. We use that to their benefit, to our benefit. And we had one of our best years ever last year.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been hard on a lot of companies, but if
Yeah.
you're in the digital space in some ways, it just felt like, okay, we jumped ahead a few years maybe, but okay, we've been waiting for you guys to come join us over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, we also, it wasn't just that. It wasn't just luck of the draw.
Right.
We spent a lot of time on sales and marketing last year. We just
Yeah.
figured out new ways to do it.
Yeah.
I heard Marcus Lemonis, from NBC's, CNBC's The Profit, and he was speaking at an event early on in the year. And he just said, my advice to you is double down on marketing. Double down on marketing. Build when things are cheap.
Right.
And we took
Right.
that advice
Yeah.
and we did it, and it paid off.
So how do you market, and how do you get the marketing that pays off for a company in the niche that you're in?
Yeah, well, a lot of different ways. It's never just one thing. But what we found is that we had a lot of direct mail marketing that we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that worked really well when people were in their offices. But it didn't work so well when everybody went home.
Yeah.
But everyone still had a phone, and everyone still had an email account,
All right.
and everyone was on social media.
Right.
So we just changed our strategy to that, to be more of a digital focus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had already been doing email marketing for quite some time. I mean, we've been doing it for decades, but we really focused in that area and then honing in the message that we wanted. We did a ton of telemarketing. We made 16,406 telemarketing dials last year. We sent tens of thousands of emails, not just to our customers, but to our marketing list.
Yeah.
And we continued to send them content.
Yeah.
And that resonated with them. That caused, so when we got on the phone, when we made that phone call, the fact that they'd seen the emails, the fact that they'd seen some content on social media, or heard about us in some other way, caused that connection to take place.
Right. Okay.
And so it's never just one thing.
No, it's not, but it's a lot of work. And even adapting, shifting channels or shifting your emphasis in terms of channel mix, like that takes time, effort, focus. Party, at least part of your team with that in the front of their to-do list. So yeah, good on you. Website social mix. Did you see a shift in the sort of patterns of how people learned about and engaged you in the pandemic versus pre-pandemic period?
I don't know if it necessarily changed. Well, it didn't change the conversation. The conversations were always the same. I think that we had more submissions on the website. Mm-hmm. There was more interest from social media. And people said people aren't buying right now. And that just simply wasn't true. Now, maybe if you were catering to hospitality, right, or you were catering to restaurants, then yeah, that was absolutely the case. They were shut down.
Right.
But even medical practices, they were shut down for a month and a half. Right. And then there was that huge surge of people wanting to come in and buy.
Yeah.
It wasn't any different for manufacturing. Manufacturing is a huge target market for us. And so we saw them hit there for a month, 2 months. And then by June of 2020, it was just like a boomerang coming back.
Wow.
And then they were trying, all right, but how do we do this? How do we do this? We can't get product. We can't get, our supply chain is constrained. Yeah. How do we do this? But at the same time, they were interested in talking with us, having that conversation, saying, well, maybe now's the time to look at security. How can we optimize technology?
Right.
And it had an impact.
Right. And I don't get a sense from anybody I've conversed with that they're planning on going back, back to 1957, Back to the Future. It's like, right. No, this is where we are. We're going to have to operate this way. And I saw a lot of remarkable ingenuity from even some of the smaller businesses in the town I live in. Like, oh, we have to do curbside. We can figure this out. Hang on a second. What if we, call here and list there, and bam, they just got with it.
Yeah.
And adapted.
Yep.
I heard one school system say we had a 10-year plan for virtual classroom. We did it in 2 weeks instead.
Yep. Yeah. That reminds me of, somebody said, I forget what it was, but I was reading some article about Zoom and everything they were doing, and it said, we literally jumped forward 30 years into the future in a matter of a few months.
Yeah.
With what we prove to ourselves that we can do. That the whole thing. Now, obviously, there's going to be a shift back to a certain extent. People are missing that human connection.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we realized as businesses that we can operate allowing people to have more integrated lifestyles. They don't have to be in the office. We don't have to be breathing down their necks all of the time. Yeah. We need the human connection. We need that for sure. But we don't necessarily need to make people commute 4 hours a day.
Yeah. I've worked virtually for most of 20 years. So I was used to this.
Yeah.
But I'm always curious to talk to someone who's made the shift, and you've been at it for close to 2 years now. What do you miss about the live office? Don't tell me you miss the commute. Nobody misses the commute.
Yeah. Going out to lunch with peers and colleagues and clients, and those lunches that's what I think I miss the most, because there's that social aspect where we're eating together, we're breaking bread together, and just being able to look at somebody directly in the eye and have a conversation. That connection is great. I miss the in-person sales meetings, and I miss the in-person client meetings. Now we're starting to get out and do that. With people being vaccinated, this is happening. I spoke at a conference a couple of weeks ago with 2,000 people. That was fantastic. So there are things starting to happen again, which is great. And I miss those things. I really miss those things. And I think there's a huge pent up need for people to get out and do that again. So I think we're going to see a huge shift in people wanting to have shared workspaces. Because that's one thing that I'm thinking about as well. I would love to have a space where we can all just kind of go in a couple of days a week, be together and have some of our meetings together, bring a client over to the office, do things like that. I think we're going to see a lot more focus on that from a business office space usage perspective versus the way that it was with everybody in their private cubicles and sitting there, all day, every day.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been reading up on, large companies trying to figure out what to do. How do they recalibrate? One second. The problem with the virtual workplace is all those digital channels are like, hey, you're free? No, because I forgot to mute you. 1 second. Do you guys use Slack? I'm not sure if I love it or hate it.
We were on Slack for years, but we moved to Microsoft Teams. Yeah. Go away.
There. Sorry about that. I mean, this is where we live now, right? No, we're saying, as big corps are looking at this, the consistent pattern to the stuff I've been reading is almost nobody is saying, let's stay completely virtual unless they were already there. Yeah. Or unless they found some like resounding surprise about how it worked. And I think the motive is probably, aside from, we've got real estate in a lot of cases, is probably what you already nailed there, like that human connection need. And I think we're smarter when we get a chance to riff and interact and scribble on a whiteboard.
Collaboration.
Throw darts. Collaboration stuff. Yeah.
We're more productive. We're definitely more productive working from home, but we're not as collaborative. And that's the part that we're missing.
Yeah. And the relationship stuff, which you already alluded to, who is this guy? What makes him tick? Zoom conversations, 1-to-1. I'm finding I'm getting more used to them. Maybe everybody is, but you get more than a couple people on a Zoom call. And it is not the same as 3 or 4 people in a room together. Exactly. Body language cues, size of the face you're looking at, shared audio, shared physical reference. All those little things are big deal that they're missing.
No, absolutely huge. And just the technical difficulties that can arise as well. What did you say? Can you repeat that? I missed it.
Yeah. Or when the thing freezes and you're like,
You're frozen, or you're on mute. You're on mute. Yes. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how to unmute my computer.
My wife works for the school system here, and she's done a couple of classes, and I walk by and I look over her shoulder, and there's 24 people on the Zoom screen. And I'm just thinking, you're going to be exhausted by the time you're done. Trying to make sense of each of those, and just like a live meeting, different personalities can assert in different ways. On those big video conferences. It's pretty amusing to watch. Certainly going to be good for monitor sales, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that it was.
I keep getting more and bigger, and bigger.
More faces. Great. They're all looking at me.
How do I rationalize a 43-inch curved screen again? Sure, I really need it. Well, we were supposed to talk about email marketing, so we could do a little of that. And it sounds like you've been at that for a while as well. Yeah,
exactly. Well, it's funny. Because we came from web hosting, we did a lot of emailing to our customers. We were buying banner advertisements on forums, and we'd, create lists, and then we'd blast them with email. But it was always, I think the funny part about it is we were always talking about our latest and greatest offer. What are we offering? 20% discount, 30% discount. we got a big special coming. It was always that, right? And
Yeah.
we were sending out HTML emails, and you kind of, you tracked it the best you could, but
Yeah.
you never really knew what exactly it was doing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as we've matured, and I think the market's matured, the way we look at email today is so very, very different.
How so?
Well, if you go back 10, 15 years, my Microsoft Outlook didn't have the focused inbox. Gmail didn't have the promotional tab. We didn't have this automatic artificial intelligence, sorting of our email to kind of take some of that stuff out of our view.
Mm-hmm.
So it's harder today to get in front of somebody's eyes with email. Now, it's one of the avenues, like social media could be just as hard, but at least social media, I went to social media for a specific reason. In email, so many people today are still using it as a communication forum for internal communication. Yep. We don't do that. Like, we keep all of our internal communication out of email and only use it as an external communication tool. But I'm still missing things all the time. Now, every now and then something comes in and it grabs my attention, which is not unlike when you're looking at a news feed on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. Something has to grab your attention. So when you're creating your emails, you've got to say something that is different. And, most of the time I see the emails, I'm getting a ton of them. I'm getting a ton of calls. People are trying to solicit me there. It's always selly. Everything's selly. And it's always about what they can do or what they are, what they have or what they know. And nobody ever sends me something. It happens rarely. Nobody ever sends me something that gets into my mind about what I'm struggling with or frustrated with today. But every now and then an email will trickle through and there'll be a subject where I go, that's exactly what I was thinking. All right, I'll read it. And that's the methodology behind any of these things. Email is no different. You have to send a message. Your subject line has to be very specific and the content inside of it has to be very, very short. We do only text-based email. I won't send HTML email anymore. And it's always a link, usually to a video. Here's a video online. I'll say a couple of specific lines, just like you would in a social media news feed. And then here's the link, and you would be well served by watching this video. And I don't say those words exactly, but that's what I'm alluding to with the verbiage that's in the actual email. So we keep it very, very short because we know that people have to be sensitive to their time. They're trying to conserve calories in time. I only have so much time to spend on XYZ. And if you want to get my attention, you got a split second to do it.
Right.
And so I think email marketing today, I don't personally believe it works as a standalone method, but I think it works extremely well when you pair it with the other things you're doing, whether that's webinars, events, social media, direct mail marketing, whatever your other mediums are. You definitely have to be email marketing. There's no reason not to do it. I think it's still extremely effective because you have that opportunity to get in front of the in front of the eyes of your buyer and in the mind of your buyer, but only if you say the right thing.
Right. You mentioned that you'd done a ton of telemarketing last year. You even knew the number of calls. Any experiments with MMS or SMS marketing?
We haven't done that. That's, and it's really funny. We all have a personal relationship with each one of our communication mediums. So I'll get 1,000 emails a day from so many different places. There's automated emails, there's promotions, there's, customers, vendors, whatever. But I don't get that in my iMessage feed on my iPhone. And so that's kind of that way where, if you want to get my attention, you're going to get it real quick because I'm expecting most of the time, these are important messages. Yeah. And my mind still prioritizes that. And so I'm actually kind of against it because I don't want that to be ruined. I don't want that really special communication medium to be ruined because it's a way for my family or my friends or my clients to get my attention immediately. The phone dings, it lights up, I see it, and it just draws me right in.
Yeah, you can't
it's an emergency.
Look at it.
Or it's something really important. Emails, like, I'm going to check emails if I'm batch processing to an extent. Yeah, a little bit here in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, a little bit in the evening, and not sitting there and constantly looking at email all day.
Yeah. And what you just said is reasonably consistent with the majority of people I've asked about the same question. It's like my messaging app of choice, and leave commercial messaging platforms out of the mix for a second. Like, that's personal, and it tends to be known people, known names. a text from somebody I don't know is a great big, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of a
Yep.
thing. And I can't think of a single business that I want to get text messages
Yeah.
from.
No.
Like, they're just not that important. Now,
Yeah.
I did sign when I got vaccinated, COVID vaccinated. Sorry, let's date this thing.
Yeah.
I filled in the form and did the paperwork for the follow-up survey from the CDC, which was done for me at least via text.
Yeah.
And it was well done, and it was actually very effective. And I know it's a short window. So when I get the ping, when now it's down to weekly, I get the ping and it's the CDC, and I click on the link and then ding, 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 no, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. Don't bother me. Thanks. Bye. Like, I'm adding to their data set as a really constrained use of that channel. I was okay with it, but I was in control of saying, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it didn't come unsolicited. You asked for it, and it's giving you some piece of information that you want.
Yeah.
Similarly, we could do that. We don't, but we could do that with our clients.
Yeah.
If there was a network problem or something that could impact their service,
Yeah.
they want to know about that right away. We can jump into that personal channel because they know that it's important. But they asked for it. They said, I do want to know. And that's the way to get my attention very quickly.
Oh, actually, and agreed. And actually, you're right. You're right. There are a couple of technical services underneath Campaign Genius where I signed up for the text alert if it goes down. Why? Because I really want to know now if something's not working. Yeah.
Yep.
So much more time sensitive stuff, I suppose, qualifies where almost nothing else does. And the archive, save, read later mechanisms are quite different.
Yep.
Email to text. Some people save their text messages, some don't. Email, it seems like everybody hangs on to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very few people delete email. The only people I've seen that are really effective at deleting email are salespeople. They're really good at sorting and deleting email. I'm terrible at it. I would completely close out of my email client and never use it if I could. So at some point I will be big enough in my business where I'll have somebody manage that for me, and I'll respond to none of my own email because I don't want any part of it. But
we'll see.
Yeah.
It's an interesting habit to give up, and we're now talking about 25 plus years for a lot of people. That being a predominant form of communication, particularly business communication, but obviously personal as well.
Oh, ask me again in 3 years and I'll probably still be doing it.
Yeah. And probably still have the same. I'm not sure that the pattern of challenges in email is actually going to shift that much. Too much stuff in the inbox, too many messages coming in. Will there be more AI assistance as you mentioned? Yeah, probably. Will I trust it completely? Never.
Never.
Right? Never. Because the one thing that slips through the cracks that I really wanted to get justifies the kind of attention suck of skimming almost everything at least.
Yeah.
Although we're all fast at that.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think people actually read emails in any depth? Like, what's your guess about the psychology of how they engage the messages that they're going through?
Well, so for example, speaking of unsolicited email, I received one last week, one last week and the one the week prior. And the person who was soliciting me wrote me a novel. I mean, I would have had to have scrolled 4 times, and I have a high resolution screen. I would have had to have scrolled 4 times just to read this entire email. And my immediate thought was, I saw the email, and I forget maybe it was some kind of subject that did attract me a little bit, but then I was like, are you serious? Like, there's no compassion for my time there whatsoever.
Yeah.
Do you really think that I'm going to spend all of this time reading your email? I don't know you. I don't, you're clearly trying to take some of my time, and you're giving me nothing. Like, another email that I received just this week, the guy's asking me to, take some time. He wants to take my time. He's given me nothing. He's giving me no understanding. He's given me no value. He's given me no education. I have nothing from him, but he wants to take my time because his product or his service is so good. It's going to do something for me that I just really need. Well, listen, that's fine if I'm actually in the pain point where I would respond to that, and you happen to catch me in that one split second, but that's so unbelievably rare.
Yeah.
You've got to give me something. You have to help me out in some way
Yeah.
and get into my mind if you want me to pay attention to it. I don't care if it's one sentence or 1,000 sentences. I'm not paying attention if you don't take that approach. And nobody does it.
I tend to agree with you there. It's way too rare. And I mean, you mentioned content marketing, which philosophically at least tips over into, you know what, add value to the universe, and then the conversation where someone actually needs it, engages it, is much richer, much better, because you've kind of let them make that decision, right?
Yep. Yep.
I got a solicitation call. I think it was this morning, like pre-coffee, which is always dangerous. Phone rings. I don't know the number. I'm like, oh, okay, hi, Matthew Dunn. And the lady on the other end went boom, boom, boom to the script. Hi, we blah, 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 blah. Took a breath and then said, "Do you have a calendar?"
Oof.
And I said, "You didn't actually ask me whether the answer was yes, I'm interested."
Yeah.
Right? Click. Goodbye, bozo filter for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I find LinkedIn noisy as heck these days for the same reason.
Yeah.
Like so much selling. Like, hey, we've got a great pitch. Stop. I don't even know you, but you clearly got the name wrong. So I don't think this is going to go very far, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, and the surveys lately will tell you that people still overwhelmingly use that platform as a way to find a job. There are 700 million people on the platform every single day.
Wow. And
only 3 million of them actually create content. Now, I'm one of those content creators on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm a video content creator. So I would guess it's probably only in the thousands of the people that are creating video content. But I will, when I go and connect with somebody, I will specifically say to them, I would love to connect with you. I have no interest in selling you anything. So if you think that's what's going to happen here, you can breathe a sigh of relief, because I won't do it. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't, and that'll be the note that we'll send along when we go to connect with them. I really just am growing my network and providing value, because I understand that I've got to give them something before I can ask them for something.
Yeah.
And that's what content marketing is all about, giving that away, letting other people become interested in you as an authority and establishing that trust. Yeah. Email is exactly the same thing. If you want people to trust you, then you have to start giving them something that's interesting. It could be white papers. It could be a video of, something that I'm struggling with. I don't know one business where we don't worry about margins. You could literally just talk about margins. If you understand who my vendors are and how I worry about my margins, and you hit on that pain point, I'm going to listen, because I care about that. Yeah. And it's no different for a manufacturer. If you're talking to medical practices, they worry about their patients and they worry about their medical malpractice insurance and the rising costs of that. So it's really not that complicated. I mean, you can do 30 minutes of research on the internet and find out some of the big pain points that anybody in their specific industry has. And you can cater your specific content marketing that way. Yeah. And whether it's email or social media or whatever it is, that's what you got to do. And so nobody does it. And everyone's trying to make a sale. Everything's an ad. Everything's an offer. There's nothing wrong with an offer. Offers are great, but there's a time and a place to make the offer. And it certainly isn't over a cold email.
Yeah, well put. And I like that you get a little riled at this, because so do I. And no, seriously. The other thing I want to come back to, because you mentioned how relatively small the number of content creators on LinkedIn is, at least proportionately, and I think true on other channels as well. Good content is work, right? And you've got the background to do it, so you know how to do it. You know to put the work in it. But I find myself irked by pretend content that's just a sales pitch masquerading as something substantive. Any reaction to that?
Well, I think it depends upon what your purpose is with what it is you're doing. So that would bleed through into everything that you do. And I see this a lot from software vendors. I see this a lot from other service providers, maybe SaaS service providers, because to them, it's a numbers game. If I've got a low margin or a low dollar value type service that I just need to have en masse to be able to be profitable, then I'm just going to spray and pray. It's all about that mentality. But if you offer a service with substance, if you offer a product with substance that is actually designed to help somebody in some way, you can't go out and do that. In my business, I know I have 40,000, there's 40,000 companies that do what I do at our core, 40,000 companies that do what we do across the United States. Now I'm very different because I position myself different from a marketing perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look down deep, you peel back all the layers, we all do at our core the same thing. So you have to differentiate yourself against every single one of those people. And I think what happens with those people that are just creating that content that is a thinly disguised sales pitch is that it's becoming more and more apparent. People know what this is. Okay, this is an ad. This is an ad. And I see it. They want to tell their story. I struggle with this and I struggle with that. Put out some empathy. Empathy and compassion are different. Put out some empathy, and then here it is. If you want to know how to fix that problem, here's my 5-step process. Here's my 10-step process. And it's like, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is right there. And you did it all in one thing. You didn't even give me like a series of 3 or 4 pieces of content before you pitched me. You pitched me right there.
Yeah.
And now I don't really want to talk, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a battle for attention these days, isn't it?
It is.
It's like
absolutely
the one commodity that we're not getting more of,
right?
We're only getting less of. Yeah.
Right.
Who was it? George Gilder said, "The 2 things we can't change are the speed of light and the span of life."
Yeah.
Yep. Although I think we're probably working on the latter, but let's treat it as finite, nonetheless. Well, where from here for your company and your aims for what you do?
Yeah, well, like I said, differentiation is key into any business that is becoming commoditized. In my specific industry, while it didn't used to be the case, has become very commoditized. I think people are trying to offer IT in a box. People are trying to, we'll just go hire a $30,000 a year guy because that's good enough.
Right.
And that's our fault. That's our fault. We made it that way. We turned ourselves into the volunteer firefighters instead of the functional business associate consultant that really helps you drive a better business result. So we're working to change that, but you can't change that by going out and saying, well, listen, I'll give you faster response. Listen, I'll guarantee I always pick up the phone. Listen, I'll guarantee that I'll keep your machines, your computers online all the time. Yeah. You've got to go after something that's different. So the way we're looking at this, and we're working on a book right now, we're going to be publishing a book next year on this specific topic. We're working on this for all of our messaging. We focus on manufacturing, construction, wholesale distribution companies. We also work very heavily in the healthcare space, but we don't spend a lot of marketing dollars in the healthcare space. So from a marketing perspective, it's those other 4 things that I mentioned.
Okay.
And we know that they are notoriously bad at understanding how to spend money on technology. And why would they be good at it? Right. That's not their business. Right. And even when they hire IT people, they hire people who understand how to fix a computer or maybe even how to build a network. But that doesn't mean that those people have 20 years of running a business, understanding margin, understanding profitability. They just understand technology. And what you need is the bridge between the two. And so our positioning is, listen, we're going to come in. We're going to take a look at how you spend money on technology today and what specific results it's driving for your business. And what we'll do is reorganize how you do that, and we'll drive a higher business result, which means increasing employee productivity, making things work better, increasing your margins, because you know that every critical employee in your business relies on technology for as long as they're working. And just as an example, if your payroll is $100,000 a month and the statistic says the average employee is 35% efficient at their job, 35% efficient with their time, your payroll isn't actually 100,000, it's 285,000. Or if you look at it in the reverse and you made your employees twice as productive, right, you need half as many to actually keep the company running. Now, that's not to suggest you go out and fire everybody, but imagine your growth potential. Imagine the ceiling from a labor efficiency perspective grows dramatically. Yeah. And the problem is nobody has somebody inside of their company that's telling them how to do that, that's showing them how to do that so that they can drive the result that they need. And when they come in every day, they're worried about their supply chain. They're worried about their vendors and rising prices, and their customers don't want to pay more and their margins are shrinking. Right. They want to be able to compete in the marketplace and have things like e-commerce and be able to distribute their product farther and wider and easier.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes they just don't relate that back to technology.
Hmm.
And so that's what we do. Bring in that playbook, show them how to do it. Now, it still takes care of their computer support. It still takes care of their cybersecurity. It still takes care of their backup and disaster recovery. But those are functional things. That's like saying my accountant files my tax return. Well, of course he does.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he can't be strategic at other things.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he can't understand your business and guide you how to make better decisions with your money.
Nice. Wow. That's exciting. And
that's what we're doing.
It actually makes a ton of, well, it makes a ton of sense, right? Like fixing the bits and the bytes without re-examining what they do from, the business purpose, the business function of the bits and bytes, particularly when it comes to enabling people to do more, to do different, to do better. So a very, very different ballgame, much more consultative as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And that's the problem. IT doesn't come and go. IT is always there. You need to have people that are thinking this way involved in your business all the time. This is why the title CIO became a thing. This is why the title CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, became a thing.
Yeah.
And they're expanding upon this. There's more and more of them popping up because customers are starting to get, clients, businesses are starting to get more aware of this. Yeah. I mean, the pipeline hack was huge. You tell somebody, well, you need cybersecurity, and they go, oh, I've never really been hacked, so it's not a big deal. But it became real when you couldn't get gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you have major news outlets that are talking about ransomware.
Yep.
They're like, oh, ransomware, it's becoming a buzzword. People actually know what this is now. You can walk up to your average person and goes, oh, yeah, that's why I couldn't get gas.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get that it's important. You get that preventing it is important.
Yeah, and it's no longer the digital layer of civilization is no longer sort of new and novel and an externality to how things really work.
Right.
No, it's actually how things really work now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Man, if this COVID bug had busted loose 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier, it would have been a very different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I feel like in a funny way we lucked out.
Yep.
Like in when this actually hits, like we'd matured a lot of pieces of, I can work from home. Good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's keep on things going there. Well, let's wrap it up. Boy, you got the energy. I think you're going to do stuff.
Yeah, some people say that to me, so I guess that must be true.
Well, it seems like you enjoy. I mean, you're growing to a 24-person company, like that's a lot of responsibility and headaches and things like that. But you still seem super engaged in it.
Oh yeah, well, it's purpose driven. It gets me up every day, and I just have a blast doing it. And we've gotten to the point now where I don't have to wear 7 hats in the business. We've got such a great team that I've delegated to. They've taken those things off my shoulders.
Yeah.
And now I have the ability to focus more on how do we grow this business? How do we provide better customer service? How do we get better results? Because those are the big questions any founder or CEO president should be asking and working on every day.
Yeah. But it does take some effort to get sort of up on the step, as a boater would say, where where you've got a wave carrying you forward, and you're looking beyond that. Well, cool. Thank you for making the time for this conversation. I figured it'd be interesting when I was looking up your background, and it certainly turned out to be the case.
That was fun.
My guest today has been Ross Brouse, president of Continuous Networks. Where does someone find you if they're just listening to this? Where does someone find your company if they say, "Ooh, I want to talk with him"?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're on LinkedIn, you can look me up. I'm linkedin.com/in/Ross Brouse. So ROSSBROUSE.
Mm-hmm.
Got tons of information there. You can read about my company. You can also link to continuous.net. CONTINUOUS.net is our website. Read all about what it is we do. If you're on LinkedIn, connect with me, direct message me. I'd love to have a conversation.
Terrific. Thanks, Ross. We'll end the recording and we're out.